delicious albondigas. Bon appetit! Some oil in a frying pan so that we can fry the tomatoes and the onions. Not too much, but enough to fry them. Chopped onion and start frying. Onion is halfway fried. Pour in the diced ripe tomatoes. The riper the tomato, the more flavor you'll have in your Albondiga soup. Now stir in well. And fry the tomatoes with your onions until the juices of the tomatoes make a nice creamy sauce. You must put the lid on it in order for that to happen. If you don't put the lid on it, the tomatoes won't release its juices. Caldo con sabor de pollo seasonings to season your tomatoes and your onions while frying. Not too much, but enough to flavor. I'm making a big pot, so this is good. A little more. Don't forget to keep the lid on there so that the tomatoes can release its juices. Meanwhile, while you are frying your tomatoes and your onions, get your stock pot, fill it halfway with water, and start boiling. Don't forget to stir your tomatoes and your onions. And let's go ahead and put the lid back on and lower the volume of the stove or the fire. And the tomatoes are frying and the stock pot of water is boiling. I'm gonna get hierba buena or mint and cilantro and chop them up in tiny pieces. So the tomatoes and the onions are becoming a creamy sauce base. That is the reason why you need to keep putting that lid on the frying pan. Otherwise, it'll dry out and it won't be a saucy, creamy base. Cilantro and the mint is diced. Go ahead and put it in a plate to set it aside. You will need whole cumins and a molcajete. Pour quite a bit of cumins into the molcajete to give the meat flavor. Now, a lot of people don't use cumin in their ingredients, but I've learned that this is the best way to get that flavor in the albondigas themselves. And I use the whole cumin and choose to mince them myself or make them into powder myself, because if you buy the powdered one already, it doesn't give it the same flavor. Looks like this is ready to be poured into the stock pot of water. Ready to be poured in, and you just simply pour the sauce into the water slowly. So I just poured in the tomatoes and the onions into the hot water, and I will allow this to boil while I'm making my albondigas. Here we got the ground beef, and this is when we go ahead and put in our diced cilantro and mint. We pour in our cumin powder, and we will also pour in a cup and a half of rice and 2 eggs. And putting in the 2 eggs. The eggs is necessary in order for the meat to stick together while it's in the juice. Chicken flavor, seasonings, some salt, and some pepper. Now I will mix this until it's all combined and well mixed. Once your meat is completely mixed, you start making these albondigas. You make your balls. The tighter the better for your soup. And you start making them one at a time and start slowly putting them into the hot water. You want to lower your water so that it's not boiling and it doesn't break the balls before they're completely cooked, so, or even after. So you got to make sure that when you make your balls, you're really tightening them up. You make as many as you want to and as big as you want to. Now you don't want to fill up the stock pot too much because then you want the vegetables. You still have vegetables to put into here. So sometimes I buy a lot of meat and I realize that it's too much and I should have probably used a bigger stock pot, but today it looks like it's going to be good. So this is a long process. And that's for each ball. Make sure your balls are perfect. This is my last meatball or albondiga. I'm putting it into the juice and I will higher the fire volume so that these can start put in. They go all the way to the bottom, and when they start cooking, they start surfacing and coming and popping up to the top. Okay. While the albondigas are cooking, I will wash my vegetables and cut them up. I like cutting them up in large pieces so that I have a real nice soup, not a mushy soup, because if they're too soft, they will like fall apart in the juice. But anyways, I use this Mexican squash. I use Italian squash. I use chayotes, carrots, and celeries. I love the celery. I actually put a lot of celery in my albondiga soup. So the albondigas started to pop up. Once they're all floating in this stock pot, then I'll start putting in the vegetables. Here are my chopped carrots and chopped celeries. I will put these in before putting in my chopped Italian and Mexican squash and my chayotes. These are softer, so I always put these in at the end. Since these are harder, I put them in the beginning and leave them longer to cook. There they go, popping up to the top, surfacing, which indicates that we can put in the vegetables. Put the carrots and the celery sticks in, and I'm just gonna let them cook for a while until they get soft. Then I will put in the rest of the stuff. So this is where we're at right now with the albondigas. So now that the carrots and the celery sticks have cooked for a bit, I'm gonna add in the chayote and the squash. Like I said, I like big pieces because I like them to not break or get too mushy in the soup. So the stock pot is hissing. These albondigas must be done. Ah, yummy. These are ready to eat. Delicious albondigas. Bon appetit.